Welcome to episode 6 of the Data-Driven Tidbit for Administrators. In this episode, we will look at ways that leaders can explore winter diagnostic and midterm data analysis in digestible chunks to truly help teachers make data-driven instructional decisions. We are a data-rich district, and we have multiple data reporting platforms. EDW, Performance Matters, SIS, iReady, SuccessMaker, Reading Plus, Pearson, Khan Academy, and the list goes on. With so many sources of data, teachers can become overwhelmed. And brain research shows that in periods of time with high stress, individuals enter a fight or flight survival mode, which impedes performance. So what can we as educational leaders do to make data analysis more timely, relevant, meaningful, and actionable? Keep your data analysis manageable. That is key. How can this be done? Well, first, let's break up the data into small digestible chunks, such as designating a separate meeting to look at standards performance, a separate meeting for DOK performance, and then even item interactions. Next, create a short 15 to 20-minute activity for teachers to analyze a portion of the data. Then ensure that each of the data analysis activities require that the teacher leave with a product. Decide if you would like to have that teacher upload that product into a team drive. And finally, data analysis activities should promote the teacher to leave with actionable next steps. Keeping it simple, what are 2 to 3 things that can be done to help students improve? This now gives leadership an area to follow up on with the teachers and enables the teacher to avoid being so overwhelmed. This is especially important in school settings where a teacher has a large portion of the student population in their class whom are behind academically. When teachers analyze a sea of red for hours, it depletes the very belief that this can be done, which is what we need them to have to drive the final weeks of instruction and remediation. So let's take a look at a few activities that can be helpful. Here you see an image of a student item analysis report from a diagnostic or a midterm exam. The purple box accentuates the overall percentage for the school or class on each of the questions. By simply taking this document from Blender and adding a few essential columns, now I have a short activity for the teachers to do. Refer to the student item analysis snippet in the upper left-hand corner. With this document, teachers can record the percentage of students in their class experiencing success on each standard accentuated in the green box. Next, by selecting the messenger icon accentuated in the red box, teachers can identify common misconceptions by looking for the percentage of students that chose each distractor answer. Then, by adding a few thought-provoking questions, leaders can help teachers dig deeply rather than simply looking at a raw score or an achievement band. Which standards or questions were a strength or weakness for the class? If teachers look at this question, teachers can use this to create their own secondary benchmark calendar, as their deficiencies might be similar to the rest of the grade level or it might not be. This could be one of the products that that administrators ask teachers to upload into a shared drive. The next question, were there common distractors or was there even a spread of distractor answer choices? An even spread of distractor responses basically shows the students didn't know the answer and they randomly guessed. A large portion of students choosing a distractor choice shows that the students were able to eliminate some options, but the student has a specific misconception. If multiple students choose the same distractor, what next steps will the teacher take for those students? This type of question is important as it helps the percentage of students choosing an incorrect distractor and determine if the reteach should be whole group or small group or some other form. What misconceptions might exist based off of student answer choices? Is there something that the teacher might have said that would have accidentally led the students to believe something that is incorrect? And then, of course, the final question, how will you reteach this and how will you evaluate the effectiveness of your reteaching? Simply limiting this kind of activity to approximately 20 minutes, keeping the focus on just this one topic, and requiring the teacher to have a product will help the teacher stay focused on what can be done. Let's take a look at another valuable activity. This activity is focused on depth of knowledge performance and should come after looking at the standards. Perhaps this would be an activity for the teachers to delve into in a PLC or a common planning meeting a week or two after completing an activity such as Activity 1. In this student item analysis image, the depth of knowledge tab has been selected and the achievement bands have been swatched to include the yellow and the green achievement bands. Notice that in this image, the distinct difference between performance at DOK 1 and DOK 2. This shows that the students have a foundation and the teacher needs to increase the rigor in the direct instruction and the practice opportunities so that students can begin to productively struggle with the DOK 2 items while the teacher provides support. For this activity, leaders can simply guide teachers in manipulating their student item analysis report to get this type of image, or another option might be to include the image for the grade level and then ask the teachers to pull theirs and compare. Here's a sample of an activity sheet where teachers can fill in the percentages for their class. Then by adding some analysis questions as shown here on the right, the PLC leader or administrator can guide the teachers to see how they can improve. So what trends or patterns do you notice? If the DOK1 percentage is high and the DOK2 percentage is low, and we know that the FSA is going to be highly representative of DOK2, then we can have those conversations. I really like question number 2. What strategies can I teach the students to practice memorization and recalling? We have to teach them some of those strategies in order for them to get better at those pieces. What strategies am I going to implement as a teacher in the classroom to support scaffolding and problem solving? These questions spur the teacher to have to think about the processes that are going to need to happen when they return back to their room and they begin reteaching and trying to take some of the students deeper. Student item analysis activity number 3 is for those who may have computer-based assessments which integrate multiple item types. Utilizing a sample chart as displayed in this image, teachers can analyze how students have performed on the item types for either the diagnostic or a midterm exam. To go a step further, a chart could be added to show a comparative results report by question interactions so that teachers could analyze cumulative results for item types that only have a few opportunities. So if there's only one match item on the diagnostic, then let's see how many match items they have encountered since August to present in order to determine do they have an issue with that type of interaction activity. The student item analysis report is a great report for teachers, but the comparative results report can help teachers prevent from having tunnel vision. By seeing the successes of others, teachers can strive for more and see that students can succeed. In this comparative results activity, we're taking a look at how the teachers did by standard compared to the school and compared to the district. And there are 3 important questions that are included in this particular activity. So how does my class perform on this standard? And how does that performance on that one standard compare to the overall performance in previous assessments? And then asking the teacher to identify 3 areas they'd like to improve upon and some strategies that they will use to make that increase in student achievement. And then the final one, I really like, which other colleagues on my campus might I be able to either glean from or provide support to based off of what I'm seeing on this comparative results activity. And that will really get your teachers going into the next steps. In comparative results activity number 2, leaders can have teachers look more deeply at key subgroups. In this example, the comparative results report has been filtered to show how ELL students compared to the rest of the population. This is a great activity because many teachers simply think that students in subgroups such as ELL or students with disabilities are always going to be low. However, by comparing to other teachers and looking at how this group has performed by standard, oftentimes what leaders are going to see is that some of these groups fluctuate by standard. And there may be one standard where they're outperforming and another standard where they're not performing nearly as well. And this allows the teacher to see that these students can do it. Especially if they're doing it in somebody else's class. So that's a great report to use as well. Finally, leaders can have teachers examine their students' performance by depth of knowledge. Here, teachers can look for students who are underperforming and set goals to improve. So in the student item analysis activity, we were able to get that overall percentage for how the teacher did on DOK 1, 2, and 3 for their entire class. But here we get an actual student listing. So looking at the image, In row 2, we see a student who has 100% on the recall questions but drops off to 31% at DOK2. And looking at the data this way shows you where are your students that you can really capitalize and get some extra points for. If you can help them make growth in DOK2, you can help them make a learning gain. Thanks for joining us for episode 6. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to your EDW specialist.